Every YouTube channel, every Reddit thread, every bootcamp instructor is telling you the same thing. Build projects, build projects, build projects. And I'm here to tell you they're wrong. Now, not completely wrong, but wrong enough that following that advice is keeping you stuck and you have no idea why. Now, stay with me because what I'm going to share with you is going to flip the script on everything you have been told about building a data analytics portfolio. So here's something in the space that no one wants to say out loud. Most data analyst portfolio projects are a complete waste of time. And no, not because the work isn't good. Some of you are building really good and genuinely impressive stuff, but you're building it for the wrong audience with the wrong goal, and it's costing you months and even some years of your potential career. You're trading time, the one thing that you cannot get back, for a portfolio that hiring managers and recruiters glance at for about maybe 30 seconds before they move on. And today I'm going to show you why that's happening, what to do instead, and I'm going to show you a method that one of my students used from scratch and that I still teach today to build real experience and to land your first data job. So if you are a career changer, if you are a frustrated learner who is doing everything right but feels stuck, this video is especially for you. So don't skip ahead and let's get into it. All right, so I need to walk you through three things that no one in the space wants to say. Let's be real. The Titanic data set, the Netflix recommendation engine, the COVID dashboard, the Airbnb price predictor. I know you have seen these and I know some of you have built these. They look like work, they feel like work, and you spend real hours on them. And you feel like you learned something. You actually do. But here's the problem. Those data sets are all cleaned up, packaged, and handled for you. All the answers are everywhere on the internet, and the questions are already defined very clearly. But the business context does not exist. There's no stakeholder, and there's no real actual decision being made. These are practice projects, and then you're wondering why real employers aren't calling you back. Hiring managers are no longer impressed by tutorial projects anymore. Right now, there's over 47,000 versions of the Titanic dataset analysis on GitHub alone. 47,000. So when you submit yours, you're not standing out anymore. You're just disappearing in an endless sea of people who did the exact same thing, which just tells us that you know how to follow a tutorial. That is it. The second hard truth is you're building a portfolio for other learners, but not employers. Think about who actually engages your portfolio. Other people learning data analytics, other bootcamp students, people in the exact same level as you. Now think about who needs to be impressed by it. Director of data analytics at a mid-sized company, recruiters, hiring managers, etc. Those are two completely different audiences. And most of you are building for the wrong one. Your portfolio is written in the language of learners. The tools you use, the techniques you apply, the courses you took, 25,000 lines of code. 95% of entry-level portfolio projects fail because they stop at the insight and never get to the impact. And that's the gap right there. The gap between insight and impact is costing you an interview. Employers in 2026 are not hiring data janitors anymore. They're hiring what I call insight architects. Analysts who can take raw numbers and translate them into actual business strategy, revenue efficiency, reducing risk, decision making. If your portfolio does not speak that language, it's invisible. All right, so the next hard truth. This one might sting a little bit, but stay with me. Every tutorial project starts with a data set that someone else prepared. The cleaning is already done or it's very trivial. The questions are already asked and the structure is already given to you. You're just filling in the blanks. But here's what a senior analyst does from day one at a company. They walk into messy, incomplete data. No one has told them what questions they need to ask, and the stakeholder doesn't even fully understand their own problem. And the analyst has to identify the right questions, the right data, and build the right framework and translate all of that into recommendations that drive action. That's not a tutorial, that's a skill, and you can only build that skill in the real world. And here's why solving this matters right now more than ever. Entry-level roles in data analytics right now are paying between 68K to 81K. Supply chain and healthcare specifically are two of the fastest growing verticals for analytics roles. Supply chain alone holds about 26% of all new data analytics job openings. So the money is real and the demand is real, no matter what the hype and nonsense you're hearing on the internet. The opportunity is right in front of you, and you will not be able to access any of it until you learn how to bridge the gap between what you know and what you can prove. So the question lies, how do you get that real world analytics experience when you don't have that real world analytics job yet? And that's exactly what Pillar 2 is about. Here is the reframe that I need you to make starting today. Stop thinking of yourself as a student building a portfolio. Start thinking of yourself as an analyst with a client. I teach my students what I call the micro consultancy method. It is a 30-day free analytics engagement with a local nonprofit to you. You go to them, you identify a real business problem, and over the course of 30 days, you will deliver three key things. a dashboard, a Big Four style consultant slide deck, and a set of data driven recommendations that they can actually act on. Now, let me answer a few questions that you probably already have. Look at these, I don't have enough skills yet. Listen, you don't have to be a 20-year expert to help. Most nonprofits are literally sitting with data right now that they've not looked at or even know how to really work with. Donor records and spreadsheets, event attendance in Google Forms, program outputs tracked in notebooks. They have the data, but they don't have anyone to make sense of it, and they don't have the big resources that other big companies have to just hire an army of analysts. So you walking in doing some magic in Excel and in a simple BI tool is already a transformation for them. So you're not underqualified, you are exactly what they need. But won't they say no? Most won't. You are offering them a free service, so frame it correctly. Hey, I'm a data analyst building my consultancy experience, and I like to help your organization use data more effectively at no cost. That is a hard offer to turn down. So here's the thing about the micro consultancy method that most people miss. It doesn't just give you a project, it gives you a story. And when a hiring manager asks, tell me about a time that you solved a business problem with data, now you have a real answer. A local nonprofit, a real actual nonprofit client, a real stakeholder you're presented to, a dashboard that they're probably still using, and a big four style consultant that shows your thinking, and a set of recommendations that actually inform a real decision. You can walk them through the entire 30 days from the first discovery conversation to the final presentation. That is a fundamentally different interview than someone who just says, I just did some projects. One of those answers gets you the job while the other just gets you into the rejection pile. Quick pause. Now, if you want to land your first job in data analytics and avoid the lengthy mistakes that I did, click the link in the pinned comment where you can find the exact steps that my students use to land their job in data analytics without going back to school. All right, now let's get back to it. Okay, so let's talk about how to do this. Step one, first couple days, you need to go local. Nonprofits are your target. Start with organizations that you probably already have a connection to, whether it's your local church, a community center, a food bank, after school program if you have kids. The warm connection makes the outreach 10 times easier. And if you don't have a direct connection, cold outreach still works as well. Most nonprofits will have a contact form and an email or phone number on their website for you to use. And your pitch is simple. You can use sites like GuideStar, where you can search over 1.9 million nonprofit organizations by mission and location, whatever aligns with something that you care about. And when you care about the mission, the work is ultimately better. And the story in an interview is way better as well. Okay, so step two. So when you get in the room or on a call, don't just start by asking what data they have. Start by asking what decisions they're struggling to make or what are their biggest pain points. Ask about their bottlenecks. What are you trying to figure out right now that you don't have a clear answer to? And let their answer guide you, right? You're looking for specific, measurable questions, not we just want to grow. Something more like, we don't know which of our programs is actually retaining participants. And here are just three examples of real world problems nonprofits generally have, right? There's donor retention, program effectiveness, and resource allocation. This just gives you a general idea of what your local nonprofits are actually dealing with right now. Okay, so step three. This is where the real work happens. Once you get their data, spreadsheets, Google Forms, whatever it is, get to work. Clean it, structure it. This is where you make your first deliverable, the dashboard, not a static screenshot. An actual interactive dashboard can be simple in Tableau or even just Excel, but something that the organization can use and monitor metrics going forward. Then you get to step four, building your slide deck. In the last week of your engagement, this is where you're going to really separate yourself. You're not just going to hand them a dashboard and a report, you're going to deliver a full consulting style package. And that is where the consulting style slide deck comes in. Think McKinsey, Deloitte. These are the kind of presentations a senior consultant would walk into a boardroom with. And I'm going to tell you exactly what goes into it slide by slide. Slide one, the title slide. Regular project title doesn't have to be fancy. Slide two, executive summary. This is your bluff. Bottom line up front. 2 to 3 key findings and the single most important recommendation the organization should act on today. Lead with the answer. Big Four consultants never bury the conclusion, and neither should you. Slide three, business problem. What was the current state when you arrived, the specific question they couldn't answer, and then the objective. Slide four, data approach and methodology. Where did the data come from? What tools did you use, etc. Just a brief description. You don't want to bore everybody. Slide 5 and 6 are going to be your key findings. One insight per slide, clean data visuals, plain English explanation of what the data is saying. Slide 7, strategic recommendations. So this is going to be your third deliverable, and this is going to be the most important one. Too specific and actionable recommendations that they can act on starting today. Not vague suggestions, actual specific moves that they can do. This is what insight architects do. And this is what you're being paid for eventually to deliver stuff like this. Okay, so the very last step of the micro consultancy method is documenting and presenting everything. So here's the reality of the data analytics job market right now. Most candidates are competing in the same lane, same Kaggle projects, same SQL certificates, same LinkedIn headlines that all say aspiring data analyst, but the market has moved on. But the jobs are there, but they're going to candidates who can prove that they think like a consultant, not a student. That is a red ocean. Everyone is fighting for the same handful of entry level roles with the same looking portfolio, projects, and the same looking resumes, and with the same story. But the micro consultancy method pulls you completely out of that competition. In order to escape the trap of the red ocean and go into the nice blue ocean of opportunities, you need to build what I call the brand trifecta. And here's how to utilize your micro consultancy engagement with it. On your resume, don't just list a personal project. You list a consultancy engagement, data analyst consultant, the name of the nonprofit, analyze donor retention data across 5 disconnected data sources, yada, yada, yada. Make a bullet that stops a hiring manager cold. Make an insight architect's resume, not a learner's resume. On your portfolio, write it as a case study. Problem, approach, tools, outcome, business impact. That is the language employers speak. On your LinkedIn, go ahead and post about the process, not just the final product, but the journey. You completed a 30-day analytics consultant project for a local nonprofit. Here's what you learned, here's what you were working on, the type of data. Don't share proprietary information, but you can just share general things that give the idea that you're pretty much an expert at what you do. These types of posts will get more traction than any tutorial screenshot that you'll ever share because it's real and people these days want more real stuff on the internet. Now, most candidates are always asking, how do I compete in a crowded job market? That's the wrong question to ask. You need to be asking, how do I make the competition irrelevant? When you show up with real consultant experience, whether it's unpaid or not, you are no longer an entry level candidate and you are no longer like everybody else. You are someone who has already done the job in a real environment and you have navigated a real stakeholder and you have already turned messy data into real business communication. This is a completely different job candidate and you will be treated as one. Okay, so I want to leave you with this. Stop collecting proof that you're learning and start collecting proof that you can deliver. There's a massive difference between motion and action. Motion is just doing another tutorial, taking another course, building another Kaggle project. Action is finding a local organization, solving a real business problem, and creating something that you can point to and say, I did that. Here's the impact. You don't get paid for what you know anymore. You get paid for what you can prove. And right now, you have everything you need to start proving it. You don't need another certificate. You don't need another degree. You need one real engagement, one real outcome, one real story that you can tell. That is your edge. That is your blue ocean strategy. Now stop waiting and go build it. I'll see you in the next one.